I'm just scared of it being a super long escort mission.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, that would be horrible.
We're gonna wait for more information.
Well,
But what's not horrible?
What?
This is the Desynced podcast.
Yeah, it is.
post E3.
It's the post E3 Desynced podcast, and holy shit, it's been a week.
It's been one hell of a week.
But before we get into it, my name is Fred, and this week I am joined by...
Skyler.
And Steve.
We're all here. So if you want to check out, we're going to go through a lot of information in this, but if you want to check out some of our initial reactions to all of the... Steve is trying to distract me. to all the conferences, then we've got a link somewhere on screen that will take you there.
Hey, click here. Click here. Click here.
You're pointing at the carpet again,
I'm
Steve.
pointing at the boxes.
It's not going to be on the ground. But anyway, there's going to be a link in the description. You can go check out that playlist if you want to see our initial reactions to all of the big conferences.
Can I just start off by saying I don't think I've ever seen an E3 where as much stuff has been announced as quickly as it was as this year.
Yeah, it was weird.
A lot of stuff came out, but it's a lot of the stuff. To me, it felt like a lot of things that we'd been asking for got announcements.
I think, yeah, in a lot of cases, especially with like Sony and
Sony and stuff. But we'll start at the other end of the spectrum and start on Sundays. It was
yeah. First we had
EA
EA.
and Bethesda.
I like that we started on a low note.
Bethesda is not a low note.
No, EA was.
EA was a low note. I was really, really underwhelmed by EA. They had some great little ideas, especially with the EA Play and things like that. But
All they really showed off was Titanfall, FIFA, and Battlefield 1.
yeah, EA was a low note. Bethesda was really cool.
Well, hold on. I want to go back to EA for just a moment because Titanfall, we got to see a lot more stuff after the conference that they showed off.
We did. They actually
The gameplay was fantastic.
Go ahead.
the big tease for Titanfall 2 from the get-go was the giant mech sword.
I know.
We didn't even get to see that in the conference. We had to wait till after conference to see
The
that.
Ronin bot.
It's the Ronin bot.
That is
Did you not see
awesome.
that? Yeah, they had a trailer just for the Ronin, which is I think it's going to be the Titan class because it had it labeled and everything.
Yeah, I did see something on Facebook about that, and I kind of watched a little bit of it in between dealing with idiots.
But what really concerned me about that is it focused on all the weapons it has, but it showed that the sword is one of its big weapons, but its gun seemed preset because it showed off a specific gun for the Titan.
Well, I mean, the way they did it in the first Titanfall was that you could pretty much put any gun on any Titan, if I remember correctly. But they might do now where there's a certain class of gun for each Titan, because I know there was like 3 combos you could do that made the Strider the most overpowered mech in the game.
Oh, absolutely.
And so by limiting the number of guns it can have, maybe you can keep it from just being that versatile death machine. Which, I mean, granted, I guess with a giant robot mech, we want a versatile death machine, but...
Yeah, that's what you're going for. But I'm kind of worried that we're going to lose that customization. Maybe I'm worried that it's going to be an assigned gun for each Titan.
Like
we'll lose some of that customization. Maybe we can still customize the abilities, but we can't decide what weapons go with which. It's just a preset class of Titan.
See, I can kind of see it as, you got your ogres, your heavy hitters, your your high defense guys getting some of maybe the weaker guns to kind of counterbalance it, or maybe it's completely 6 complete individual Titans that have 6 different sets of styles of whatever.
Well, that's what I'm saying is because they showed the individual gun for the Ronin, they showed it's essentially a shotgun. It looked like a sawed-off shotgun for Titans, but it shot like 4 blasts at once. Super cool gun, but because they show that specific gun, I'm worried that it's going to be, I don't know, maybe that's in the gameplay that I didn't see, but
Maybe.
And
I saw a little bit of the gameplay, and it looked fantastic. I'm super, super excited about it.
well, did you see if they were using Titans that had different, like the same Titan class using different weapons, or?
Kind of, sort of. They had your same 3 they had the same style as the 3, the ogre, the strider, and then your balanced guy. Then they had some of the new ones as well. I didn't seem like they had preset guns.
You couldn't really tell?
I couldn't really tell.
Okay.
Because a lot of it was just like machine guns and a rocket here and there. But that was pretty much all I could tell. Maybe they'll open more options in a beta /
Well,
the
they're doing
actual
that.
game.
Yeah, they're doing that technical test. I think in the summer. I can't remember now, but they're gonna do some kind of test.
Yeah.
We'll
I
have to know.
did not see much gameplay for Titanfall 2 this year at E3, but something I did see gameplay for was Battlefield 1, and that looked awesome.
I was super impressed and kind of surprised by how good Battlefield 1 looks. Obviously, they're all running on super high-end PCs, but
True.
the physics and the destruction that they're bringing into it's on the level of like Bad Company 2. They're going back to being able to tear down entire buildings, which is really cool. But you and I were talking a little bit about how that might work.
Yeah, there's some questions that I still have. Most notably, there's a point where like a big blimp showed up and all the planes took it down, and then it crashed into this little neighborhood and destroyed everything. But then they were fighting through the remains of the blimp in the town. So what we were kind of curious is it like fully destructible where as you break something, physics are applied, and as it falls, it forms new stuff? Or is it kind of just like a destruction state where once you've done enough damage, this wall comes down and it moves on to the next state of destruction? It'd be really interesting. That sounds a lot more plausible, but...
That's exactly how Battlefield Bad Company 2 did their destruction. It was different states. So if you took out enough walls in this building, then it would fall into state 2, and that's about it.
Right. I did notice the destruction they caused with the tanks was a lot of stuff to knock out walls, and a lot of buildings were standing. And then when the blimp came down, everything was just charred ash and completely leveled. So
yeah,
I'm personally just not excited for Battlefield 1.
Okay, well,
it looked good.
I'm not about. I played a little bit of Bad Company 2. I played a little bit of 3, a little bit of 4, Hardline. I can't get into them.
Yeah, it's not for everyone. This one looks...
I do like... Sorry, Fred. I do like that it is more team-based. That you have to rely on other people. And all the over different classes.
Yes and no.
Not really, because you're dealing with teams so large that each individual player actually has a minimum impact overall. Like, yeah, if if a lot of people on one team is sucking, then yeah, the team's going to lose. But there's not really it's not a co-op like you would think in something like Left 4 Dead or something where you rely on your teammates to get through it.
There is some teamwork aspects that you see in a lot of the more like competitive games where people are really going against each other. That stuff does kind of come through. Mostly, the stuff that interests me was just the fact that they made World War I look fun. I mean, they had a whole gas mask mechanic because of chemical warfare. And so, it's just cool to see them bringing in these mechanics.
I like that they properly represent each country in it. So
yeah.
They have the different tanks and different weapons, and they're all designed based on which country you're playing as in each battle, which I thought was really cool.
That's kind of
nice
cool.
Little touch. But that was EA, and that's really all they showed were those 3 things. Then we moved on to Bethesda that showed quite a bit. That brought E3 into the fold, I think.
Bethesda had a lot to bring to the table.
I mean, most notably Quake out of nowhere, which I want to talk about the way that they started introducing Quake, where it was the old like shell script command line loading prompt, and it listed all their games they're working on, and then it had another one in there that was what's the name? Colossus, I want to say.
Yeah.
We don't know anything about what that is. It might be another Wolfenstein. It might be an entirely new IP, but it kind of looks like it's almost teasing at something that's in the works.
It could be another one because didn't Todd Howard say they were working on 3 games total? Yes. I watched an interview earlier. They talked to Todd Howard. They said that Elder Scrolls 6 is in the works along with 2 new titles. And the fact that it's going to be a while before they say anything about Elder Scrolls 6 because they're working on these 3 huge projects.
Real quick.
Just real quick to answer your point, I do think it is a Wolfenstein game because it was listed alongside New Blood or New Order and Old Blood, and then it was, I think it was like New Colossus or something like that.
Yeah,
it was along the same lines of Wolfenstein. So,
though I want to thank you for mentioning, they did wind up announcing Elder Scrolls 6 at the convention.
No, they confirmed,
we knew they were working on it.
That they are working on it. They did not do any announcements whatsoever. What you're thinking of it as an announcement is like what they did with Skyrim. You still lost. No, they confirmed.
No, I lost. They didn't do it at their press conference, so I lost the bet.
Regardless,
and I will honor that.
they confirmed they're working on it. That's
They confirmed they're working on it for the first time. No confirmation before this, which means that for the first time, they have announced that they are working on Elder Scrolls 6. Therefore, they did announce it at E3.
No, they didn't.
Yeah. It's not really an announcement of the game. It's just an announcement that it's being made, which is something we knew. It's not like that's a new piece of information.
We went into it now.
Speculated. We didn't have facts saying it.
So you thought they weren't going to make an Elder Scrolls 6? Sorry, Steve. I know I'm cutting you off.
No, you're fine. Because I'm trying to do the same thing you're doing, but because when you think of a traditional announcement, you thought of something like Skyrim, you thought of something like Quake, you thought of something like along those lines. Don't try and weasel out of it because I'm right.
He's not. He did flat out say he's not trying to weasel out.
Yeah, I lost the bet. They didn't do what I said they would do at their conference. I just want to say they did technically announce it.
Yeah, and people
technically.
Like you, a lot of people I've seen are blowing up. Oh, they talked about Elder Scrolls 6. It's like, we knew they were making this game. It's not like they're going to suddenly end the franchise on Skyrim.
But just for comparison, the reason why I'm calling this an announcement, with Fallout 4, they didn't even say they were working on it until they showed it off.
That's actually not true at all.
Yeah.
They said they were building Fallout 4 a couple years before it was announced.
Yeah.
Did they?
They've been working on Fallout 4 for a while.
Okay, I'll trust you on that. I don't remember that, but I'll trust you on that.
Yeah, well, they had to have some kind of response through all the leaks over the years. They had some little, yes, we are working on a new Fallout game or something like that.
Yeah.
That's all it was.
But yeah, Quake looked really cool. Very curious to see if it's going to be PC only. I got a feeling it will be.
I think it is, considering how heavily they pushed on the unlocked frame rate, which can't be done on console.
No, not yet at least.
Then again, Project Scorpio and PlayStation Neo.
No.
Even with those, we'll get into Scorpio. I have new information on that when we get to Microsoft. But yeah, so they showed Quake, and then they went on to what? I can't remember now.
They showed off a little bit of Doom in the new Fallout DLC.
Oh, that's right.
The Fallout Shelter update, which I can't wait for. I love that game. My only concern is it comes out in July, and I don't know when in July, and I'm really worried that it's going to fall in the middle of a convention I'm going to. And then all anyone's going to be doing at that convention is playing Fallout Shelter. But that's a whole other thing. Hopefully it doesn't happen over July weekend.
And actually, in our initial reaction video, we spent a lot of time on Bethesda, so I think we've covered pretty much everything.
We've covered the majority of the stuff that Bethesda's thrown out.
Unless you could think of something we didn't. I just want to keep from retreading.
They didn't really show off a ton more than outside of their conference than they did in their conference, at least not that I saw, so there's not much more to go into as far as I can tell.
I know they did show off more gameplay for Dishonored 2, and that was just because they let people play it.
True. They let people play that level they demoed, I believe.
Yeah, and they didn't show anything new from that. It was just the same thing. I am super excited for Dishonored 2, though.
Oh, definitely the same.
I can't wait. So then it moves on to who's next? Microsoft. Because this is on Monday
morning.
Okay, Gears, yeah. They showed off that gameplay, which actually looks really good. I had no interest in Gears 4. I'm not the biggest Gears of War fan, but Gears 4 looked really cool, and I like how they're doing the weather effects and all that.
It looks really cool. I will say that's kind of the response I've gotten from every time they've showed off Gears, back even from Gears 2, 3, and all that. So I'm still a little skeptical, but it did look nice. I kind of want to play it now.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what kind of co-op it's going to have.
Well, they showed off, I think, 3 or 4 player co-op there at the conference.
Was it a 4-player co-op?
Well, it's weird because I want to say they said 4-player co-op, but the demo they showed off only had 3 people in it for the entirety of the demo, as far as I could see.
Gears teams have always consisted of 4. Always, always, always. 1 and 2.
That was my thought.
1 and 2 were only 2-player co-op. I believe 3 was 4-player co-op.
Yeah, it was. You could play as each of the team members.
And then Judgment was 4-player co-op.
That's why I'm a little confused. Is because, like I said, just for the demo they showed, there was Marcus's son, whose name I don't remember, and then his 2 AI companions.
No, the chick was always with him.
I don't think they showed a 4th though. Did they show a 4th?
Wherever Marcus's kid is, the chick is always right behind him.
Okay, but
yeah, so they showed that off. That was pretty cool. They didn't get into any real surprise announcements until Forza Horizon.
Forza Horizon, which I'm super excited about.
Yeah, and we already talked a little bit about it before, so I'm not going to retread on that. But yeah, I am really excited, and the potential that it shows is really interesting. Being able to play cooperatively with people across PC, Xbox One, and theoretically into the new Scorpio.
Right. Well, I think the Scorpio is pretty much the same as the Xbox One, just a stronger version, like the Elite was.
Right.
I don't get the feeling that it's a whole different console, like people are worried about with the Neo. I will say, The biggest thing from Microsoft for me was a lot of those indie titles. I really enjoyed seeing just what was coming with like Stardew Valley and like the culling, those types of games. Because while I was a PC gamer a while back, I just don't have the money to constantly keep up with that. So a lot of those games that I really want to check out are off limits to me just because I don't have the PC to go and keep playing them.
Right.
So I'm really excited to see that stuff's moving to Xbox One so that, we can be part of the club.
I do feel that a lot of PC titles are going to be moving to Xbox One as well.
Oh, yeah, and to PS4.
With this, well, more so to the Xbox just because of the cross-compatibility.
That is a good point, though, with the
I
Windows
see more
10.
I see more PC games being compatible for Xbox as well as Windows 10. Like, my biggest kind of theory now is the Old Republic. When are we going to get to see that on Xbox One?
The Old Republic.
That's
the Star Wars
MMO.
MMO.
Oh, right. Probably not ever.
I don't know. I mean, MMOs have a hard time surviving on console.
Yeah. I mean, look at Elder Scrolls Online.
Yeah,
I
so
actually
it's
looked at
crashing.
some stats on that. That's doing a lot better than I thought it was.
It's been
That
on
has a
console, though?
Yeah,
Or
that has
PC?
a much bigger player base than I thought it did.
Oh, okay.
I mean, certainly it's not the WoW killer that it originally said it would be, but
nothing will take
Yeah.
down that empire. I'm telling you.
But getting back to the discussion,
Sure.
I think because we have for a while now, we saw a lot of PC games saying they were going to PS4 before they were even announced for Xbox One. Some of them still won't come to Xbox One.
yeah,
So we're starting to see a shift in that. A lot of these indie games are going exclusively to Xbox One or to Xbox One first and then to PS4.
I can almost guarantee it's because of the Windows 10 integration.
Absolutely. I think that plus the whole idea at Xbox has changed a lot.
Well,
So I think it's easier for developers to join into it.
right, and what excites me alongside that is the whole club and LFG system. Just that is, I can't stress enough how revolutionary that is to have that just built into the console itself and
Well,
not in the games.
Real quick before we get off into that, I want to mention my indie games. I'm excited.
Oh, okay,
You said
yes,
yours. So my indie games are actually games that aren't out on anything yet. I was
True.
super excited for Inside. Seeing gameplay for that afterwards was so cool. I am so excited for that.
You know that comes out this month.
I know.
I didn't even realize that.
I think it's August.
I want to say I looked it up on the store today. I want to say it comes out at the end of June.
Then that's even better. I'm super excited for that.
Unless I read that 8 as a 6.
And
I should
then
probably look that up.
and then We Happy Few, which comes out.
super excited about that.
Well, it comes out on the preview program in July. Yeah, I am so excited, and I got to see a little bit more gameplay of that. It is, you nailed it on the head. It is very BioShock-esque.
I got that feeling when I first saw it. It was just the way the characters' hands are moving with the way everything else is, and it follows that same get inside your head, fuck with you kind of a thing.
Oh, it absolutely does. There in that gameplay demo, you didn't see a whole lot of it because the demo I saw, the person playing was an idiot. It was absolutely horrible gameplay, but you at least got to see some stuff. And yeah, it's like there's crazy people walking around and shouting all kinds of weird things at you. It's creepy and in your head. It's cool.
It's the best parts of the first BioShock and Infinite.
Just to return real quick, I was looking up the dates. Inside will be coming out on Xbox One June 29th.
Oh, yes.
And on PC July 7th.
That is perfect.
So, yeah, this month.
Awesome.
But anyways, yeah, We Happy Few. Tons of fun to see that stuff. I know you guys got to see more gameplay than I did, but I can't wait to see more about that.
Something I was a little concerned about looking at that gameplay is it got very gloomy looking. Now, maybe it was just that one level, but the demo they showed at the conference was very bright and colorful and had a lot of pastel colors to it. The gameplay demo showed a very dreary, dark and cloudy, and not a lot of color. A lot of grays, a lot of blacks.
I think that's intentional because the whole premise of the game, at least as we understand right now, is there's this drug joy that makes everything appear great. But
Right.
the world isn't great. So I think that might be contrasting where as you're discovering more and more of how the world really is, you have these moments where it is drab and dreary intentionally.
Well, yeah, and I was getting to that. I know it's intentional, but I'm worried that it's going to be throughout the
Overpowering.
game. Because it was such a bright, colorful thing. That looked really cool. To lose all that was kind of jarring
Maybe.
and a little disappointing. who knows what they're gonna do? It's probably gonna get really loopy, like 70s disco loopy at some point. But
Yeah, I mean, the original BioShock was kind of drab and dreary. It was just drab and dreary underwater, so it was cool.
well, no, it had areas that were filled with color. I mean, I'm thinking, what is that one garden?
Arcadia?
Arcadia. I mean, that was there's a lot of dark sections, but they had a lot of bright lights in the trees. They had reds and blues and all that going on.
Well, I
So there
guess
was a
it
lot
is
of
in
colorful.
I guess it will be hitting early access, so it's a good chance to give some feedback.
Absolutely.
Because that's the whole point, isn't it?
Yeah, the
Feedback
preview-
that
the
will not
preview
get listened
program.
That will be the first thing I say. Needs more color.
to. Needs more color.
Get out of 2007.
Yeah, let's not go back to the year of brown. I know another one that we wanted to talk about, but we didn't really get to, is the Rares game, the pirate one.
Oh yeah, Sea of Thieves.
Sea of Thieves.
Yarr! Dibs on Jack Sparrow. I'm steering the boat.
Steering the boat.
I'm steering the boat.
Well, that means that you won't get to see where it's going.
Then you guys are gonna have to tell me where to go.
Ooh, can I be in the crow's nest?
Yeah, you could be in the crow's nest.
As long as you stay on your mat.
Okay,
Just stay up there.
I'll be in the crow's nest.
No, it was really cool.
I'm going to direct you straight into every rock
That
I
means Fred's
see.
the captain.
After their announcement, I was really curious to see what this game would actually be. Would it be a big open world, or was it going to be more of a structured
Experience-based game.
Yeah. So seeing the big open world and then having entire ships run by actual people is really interesting.
It does. It's my biggest fear about the game is that the game was going to be you and your friends controlling a ship, and that you would have to have where the ship was like every position was filled by actual players. It initially concerned me because it takes a lot of people to run a ship, and I don't necessarily think that I'll be able to get enough people on to always run that ship.
I would like to prove your point wrong.
Okay.
Pirates of the Caribbean, a whole bunch of people set the ship up, but it only took 2 of them to sail the ship.
Okay.
That is a good point, but to me, a crew of 2 kind of undermines the idea of this game, where the game is supposed to be about, as far as we can tell, you having your crew and it's your crew's adventures. My big fear is that I wouldn't have those people there. Now, with LFG, we might get to see that fills in that gap and allows us to create that experience, but it's I saw a couple of different reviewers comparing it to Evolve, where it's so much great potential and such a great idea, but if you don't have that big group of friends that will always be there to play with you, the game loses most of its charm.
Yeah, that's something I'm definitely worried about. But that's also where games like Destiny or even MMOs would lose their charms. If you don't have people to play with, it's not as fun.
True.
So maybe they're approaching it with that mentality. Like, oh, we're treating this like an MMO or a small-time MMO kind of thing.
We'll have to see. That's the one thing that really I'm curious to find out more about is how does this group mechanic work?
Yeah, I'm really excited for that game. I definitely want to check it out.
I'm excited.
Are you?
I am.
Okay, good.
Well, he does want to be, you said Jack Sparrow?
I want to steer the boat.
Wait. If he's Jack Sparrow, can I be Barbossa so that we can mutiny him?
Y'all are losing me on this. I have no idea.
You own Pirates of the Caribbean.
You've
No, I
seen the
don't.
movies.
Yes, you do. You own them on Blu-ray. How do I know this and you don't?
How do you know this and I don't? Do I really?
We used to live together. Yes, you had them. Those were your only movies.
No, I know I have Finding Nemo.
Yeah, but you own Pirates of the Caribbean.
I
You got it for your birthday a couple of years ago.
don't remember. I've only seen the movies once. I saw each of them, but I only saw it once, so I don't remember that.
Just when I say we're
Anyway.
mutinying him, just go with me on it, okay?
Okay.
I'm not the captain. He's the captain. Fred is captain. I'm
yeah,
just
I'll
steering
mutiny.
the boat.
I'll mutiny.
Well, then
That's
you're not
cool.
Jack Sparrow. Because he was Captain Jack Sparrow.
Yeah, wouldn't you be Barbossa? I'm starting to remember.
Anyway, moving on. What came after the pirate game? I mean, this is going to be kind of weird. I know we've already talked about it. I think it is very, very cool with the customizable controllers.
Oh, yeah, it's you know.
It's a nice
That's all
little.
right.
It's a good little treat. I mean, it's very, very cool to me. The fact that I can go in and make the entire controller different colors and put my own little. I can put my gamer tag. I can put my own little message. I can put whatever engraved on there. I like that.
I'd much rather see that, though, as something to do for Elite controllers, because if I'm already putting in the money for an Elite controller, then I might.
Then at that point, you're going $200 to $300 for a controller.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see customizable Elite controllers, but we are seeing the Gears of War Elite controller. So I see those collector's controllers
And
being the Elite controllers
they've
now.
got for the regular Elite controllers, they've got a pack for the Halo stuff, so you can take all of your existing parts off and put custom Halo design stuff on it. So you can take the thumbsticks off, the back paddles, the buttons, and everything.
All
and
the things you can normally take
yeah,
off.
and then you can replace them with Halo themed buttons. So you can do that already with Elite controllers. But what they're doing with the regular controllers, which are actually the ones that are coming with the S model Xbox, so they're a little bit more fine tuned. They're a little bit better, a little bit newer.
I don't know if they said they're actually new controllers, or if it's just the new version that they have now coming to
the controllers are a little
S.
bit more. They're a little bit more sensitive, a little bit more accurate, a little bit more.
Oh, I didn't see anything
Durable?
on the controllers themselves.
I don't know about durable, but yeah, the
Well,
controllers are a little bit better with the S model. I did read an article on Kotaku.
I don't know. I didn't see that article.
Something like that. But yeah. But I think it's cool for the controllers.
So after Microsoft came Ubi.
Yep. On to
and
Ubi.
I still say the best part of Ubi was that guy in the panda suit.
The best part of Ubi was the eagle chasing game.
What was my favorite part? I don't even know. Ubisoft left a sour taste in my mouth.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought they had a
I
couple
can
of
see
cool
that.
things. You liked Watch Dogs 2, I thought.
Oh, yeah, that's actually probably my favorite thing they showed. And it's not that I'm not excited for their games. I'm actually excited for 90% of what they showed, but their conference bothered me.
They took it a little bit too far over the board.
Yeah, they wanted to be this edgy, hip, look at us, we're random and weird. And it felt corporate the way they did it.
The fact that Aisha Taylor dropped the F-bomb 5 minutes in.
Yeah. I mean,
well,
I
it was
definitely
okay
agree
if
with
she
had
had.
that.
Sorry, Skyler, I talked over you. Go ahead.
No,
Say, what was it?
I was saying I can agree with you on that. That's all I said.
Oh. Yeah, that's actually the perfect example. So, yeah, if she had just dropped an F-bomb and moved on, then it would have been, oh, she's edgy. She's not supposed to do that. But the fact that she did it and then commented on it, it's like, okay, that's clearly the corporate saying, do this here now so that we can get them to feel that we're edgy.
And then here's my thought on it. Why can she drop the F-bomb and they not bleep it out? But the Gears of War trailer.
Well, that's the point, is, Microsoft was keeping it by the books, and they're not. They're going off the rails and being extreme.
See, I thought it was okay during the trailers when they showed off like the edginess. It was when it's like the people on stage were doing it. When they had even though Trials of the Blood Dragon was my favorite trailer out of E3 this year, the two guys who came out ahead of time in like the red jumpsuits was kind of just weird.
Yeah, and those were the developers. It was weird.
Ubi was just bad this year.
No,
Ubi is always weird, but it feels like now it's just getting old.
I do want to address the weird thing. The biggest like weird thing about this.
All the weird things.
They had all this stuff where it was like very live and very personable, and how people actually were is what they were going for. And then during the Ghost Recon trailer, it was the most awkward dialogue ever.
Yeah, it was scripted and it sucked.
It was, and it's not that it was so scripted. It was very scripted.
No, it was
but having a scripted demo is not a big deal. They took it to a next level somehow.
That was the thing. It was like, and they've done it for every Ghost Recon. I mean, remember the Division thing they did before? It's like, we're going into the sector. Are you with me? I'm following behind you. And it was just like, it was that very heavy military talk during the Division trailer.
It wasn't actually, at least for their initial gameplay show. What was supposed to be
Division
gameplay?
1 being very heavily tactical, where it's just like, flank them on the right behind the car.
No, because they kept it a little less low key, or a little more low key than that. There was some weird stuff with them. Hey, I got to flank around the cop car or something, or get your drone in there. But it felt a little more natural,
I guess. But this one was just, I felt like they were trying not to go overly militaristic. Like it almost sounded like stuff people would say. Almost.
with the Division.
No, with Ghost Recon this year.
Really? No, I thought the exact opposite. They were saying things I wouldn't expect anyone, unless they were actually in combat, to be saying.
Well, I mean, that's why I said almost. Because there's definitely stuff where when you're playing a squad-based game, you have to communicate. And there was stuff they were communicating about that we would have to. They were just doing it in an overly militaristic way.
Well, I'm going to say this last point, and then we'll have to move on because we are dragging on this bit. But there was one interview I saw, or one person talking about it that I saw. And it's like, you're not gonna say, line up your shot on the sniper in the tower. No, you're gonna say, shoot that motherfucker in the face.
You don't say tango down. You say, I got the bitch.
Yeah.
Or baddie down. Yeah, no, it's, I got the bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah. To be fair, yeah.
Yeah. That's how it goes.
It wasn't. Yeah, it just. I didn't feel it was realistic enough.
But we should move on.
We should.
You
did
actually
we have any other good stuff that they showed?
Oh yeah. In fact, Steve had mentioned just a minute ago about the Eagle Flight.
Oh yeah,
That looks cool as shit. I'm super excited for that in VR. I mean, that'll probably be one of the first things because I can really see that really kind of showing off what VR can do at launch. It's a great launch VR title, is what I see it as, and really, really show off what VR can really do. Because I don't know if you noticed, but that the Eagles, there was no radar, there was nothing. You literally had to turn your head.
Well, they had a map.
No, there was no map.
Yeah, there was.
Was there?
Yeah.
I didn't see
I
it.
don't remember seeing
There's
a
a map. Yeah.
I don't remember.
I remember
seeing
it showing it at the start, but not when they were.
It
actually
showed it at the
flying.
start, but while they were flying, you couldn't. You were blind. If you weren't
was-
looking around at what was around you.
I'm remembering Watch Dogs 2's mini map.
Yeah.
What?
It stood out to me, which I'll get into after this.
Yeah, if you weren't looking around,
yeah, okay.
you were screwed. Because
That's
there were
right.
times where like somebody was watching, and then all of a sudden you see them die because somebody came in from above them and
Yeah.
their blind spots. That was very cool. So you have to be very aware of what's around you and literally look around. So I can see that kind of showing off.
When they first started talking about VR in general, like before Oculus and Vive were a thing, when people first started talking VR, the first thing I thought of is, I want to be able to fly.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that I liked with it is it was a VR experience that didn't have you teleporting to move.
Yeah, you were actually flying and moving, and
I get the reasons is because for a lot of people that causes like motion sickness, having where your character's moving but you're not.
right.
However, I know the Resident Evil 7 demo that they showed, the person was walking around, and that was the biggest thing that stood out to me. Is that's what made it look like a good VR experience to me. I don't like the teleporting thing.
Yeah, it's cool that it's flying around. It's cool that it's a full-blown multiplayer experience in VR, and that's cool.
Quick question about VR. Do you think we're going to have games where we have to be standing up? Like I know with the PlayStation, they want to integrate the PlayStation Move into their VR stuff.
Depending on the game.
Yeah, we already have, like the Vive, most of the Vive games support moving around. And what it does is, in the settings, you basically draw a box around what's a safe area, and it keeps you within that area. So if you ever start to get close to that,
So like if I cleared out my living room and drew a box about.
Yeah, and you would draw it in the headset, and the headset would remember, okay, you're not supposed to go beyond this point. So it would stop you beforehand. But
So then that could potentially change how the games could be played or how the games could progress.
and there's already some games that are really more demos, but yeah, it shows off how that works.
Well, like
Pretty
Job
cool.
Simulator is the best example I can give for a good VR experience that's like that right now.
Can you move around in that, or you?
Yeah.
I thought you were stationary.
You're in a stationary area, but you can move around within that area to accomplish things.
Oh,
So, for
okay.
instance, like the car demo that they have, where you're a car repairman, you can open up the car door and then move yourself so that you're kind of like sitting in the car, even though you're not really.
Oh, okay.
But stuff like that, so you can move around within that area.
But yeah, that's what they're doing.
I'm curious to see how it'll work.
I'm very curious. I want to know, going back just a moment to Microsoft, I want to know more about the VR with Scorpio.
Oh yeah, we completely forgot Scorpio in that discussion, didn't we?
Yep.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
Yeah, we
I
did.
mean, it's not coming out for a while.
That's true. It's not coming out for a while, but
They teased it, but it.
well, more information they gave afterwards is that it would be as powerful as a modern computer running a GTX 980, which I know neither of you are super big computer people, but
I know that's big.
you know
that's
what?
good.
Okay, you
Yeah.
know,
I have no idea.
GTX 980 is currently, well, I guess before the 1080 and all that, it was the most powerful graphics card on the market, or I
Really?
guess graphics versus
It's
power
basically
and
it's
affordability.
still more than
was-
you or I could afford right now.
Yeah, it's like $700-800.
No shit.
Yeah, very powerful, and the Scorpio is supposed to match that, but it's still not coming out for a couple of years, so that's
It's
well,
gonna,
it said
still gonna keep it-
2017.
okay.
In their
Well, a
conference,
year,
yeah.
but a lot in technology can change a year.
That is true. Mostly, I just want to know more about the VR because for anyone who can't afford to build a VR computer, console VR is going to be our big entryway into this.
Absolutely.
That's the whole thing with like PlayStation VR. I don't have a PS4, but that's the biggest thing making me look at a PS4.
See,
my biggest factor holding me back is I just don't see any good games
the
yet.
PlayStation VR being $400, I am seriously, with the setup that I'm going to have in the future, I am seriously contemplating PlayStation VR.
Oh, I absolutely
Really?
am
At
because of its
400?
affordability.
$400 for PlayStation VR.
That's cheap.
I mean, I know
man.
that's cheap compared to other VR. That's still just. I'm surprised. I still view that as a very expensive.
I mean, I really
It
want
is
to get it.
expensive, but it's very affordable considering the alternatives, and especially considering what's necessary to play it. You just need a PS4, so
Well,
in total,
maybe not. You might have to get the new PS4 because there is that rumor about the limitations.
well, even then, if it's the new PS4, it's not going to be more than $400 for that.
Eh.
If it is, it won't sell.
I mean,
Especially,
okay.
it's not going to sell.
I don't know.
Not in
it
the current
won't.
market, anyway.
It won't, especially because the PlayStation Slim is launching at $300. Who knows what Neo is going to be launching at? But I doubt it will be any more than $500.
I guess we'll find out as we get more information.
Yeah, that's
we
hard
didn't
to
get
know.
any this year.
But it makes it affordable. I mean, get a PS4, get the Neo, whatever, and get the PSVR, which I'm sure they'll do a bundle for all of it. That's still $800, the price of just the headset for Vive.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
So
It makes it very affordable.
Yeah, I will say I'm more interested to see if they're going to change the controllers. I don't like the current controller for the PSVR, what they've shown so far. I much prefer the Vive setup.
what do you mean the controller for the PSVR?
You can use just a DualShock.
You use a DualShock 4.
Yeah, but with the Vive, you actually have like the two hand.
Oh, that's where the Move comes into
That's
play.
the PlayStation Move stuff.
I know. I guess we'll have to wait and see more about how it works.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
that-
haven't actually seen it in action, so
That's-
I'm also a raging skeptic, so I understand that it's much better than I'm probably giving it.
I got a
credit for.
question
What's
for
up?
the group. Let's say you and I, because you and I have PlayStations, I'm more than likely going to get the PlayStation VR. I assume you're going to try and pick it up when you can.
yeah.
If you and I are playing a multiplayer game, can we still have it put on a TV to where Skyler could watch us and commentate and that kind of stuff?
More than
Most
likely.
VR can.
Yeah.
That way you've got like a spectator mode. That way you're just not two idiots sitting in a room.
Oh, it would. I would almost guarantee that they do that. They haven't specifically said that, but
Well, it does require more computing power to do that because you have to render the game again in a 2D fashion.
not necessarily.
Not
It
necessarily.
could just capture what you're seeing in the VR headset and output it to the TV.
But the VR headset is two separate displays that are combined to create a 3D environment mentally. For a TV screen,
That's
you
true.
couldn't just mesh those two displays. You would have a third render.
Well, and I guess I'm thinking about early Oculus when they would show off gameplay of that. You would see just the two screens next to each other for
Right.
gameplay. Yeah.
I mean, that's you. While yes, you technically can do that. Physically, you can do that. That's if you sell that as your spectator mode. That's not going to.
That's not going to go
appeal
well.
to people.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe not. Hopefully they got something.
Do you think all of this virtual reality stuff is going to be accommodative to people with glasses?
It is
Oh,
already.
they've already. Yeah, that
Really?
was one of the biggest things
Do I,
that they've
now,
worked
do
on.
I have to wear my glasses when I'm doing it because that screen
Yes.
is already right there, or am I going to be able to take my glasses off? And because I'm very nearsighted, so everything that's very close to me, I can see beautifully.
Well, they count on, for farsighted people especially, they count on you being able to wear your glasses.
Okay.
And that's something that's been considered in early reviews of the Oculus and the Vive. They're saying like the Vive is more accommodating. The PSVR, a lot of people have said, is very accommodating. People from the show floor
Yeah,
have said it's very
That's-
accommodating for your glasses.
that's good. I like that.
I'll say there was a lot of VR talk at this year's E3, but I don't feel like it was as much as people felt there was going to be.
Yeah, it didn't seem like it was. I guess I expected it to be the central focus of this year, and it wasn't.
It almost feels like how every conference has their indie moment. I feel like now there's the VR moment.
Yeah.
And it's just another little thing. It's like, here's our indie titles we support, and here's our VR we support. Now back to the main stuff.
Yeah.
show. But since we're on the topic of PlayStation and PlayStation VR, there was nothing
we
really
finish
else
Ubi?
from Ubi. There,
I wanted
he
to
wanted to
quickly
talk about
mention
Watch
Watch
Dogs.
Dogs 2.
Watch Dogs 2.
I want to talk about Watch Dogs.
I got to briefly mention in our initial reaction video, but man, Watch Dogs 2 looks incredible.
Oh, it looks very well. Now, given how Watch Dogs 1 happened, we all know looking very well at E3 does not mean it will look very well at launch, but
But seeing the sheer amount of gameplay available, and I think it was on the show floor.
It was
the gameplay demo,
and that's why I have reserved excitement for it. I want to see more. I want to play it. I don't yet know if I trust them.
See, now you're making me doubt myself, and I hate you for it. I'm hoping that they've learned their lesson. All the interviews I've been seeing and reading have suggested that they've learned their lessons from the first game and that they're making the proper adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at the city itself. It's so vibrant. There's a lot of life. There's a lot to it, where Chicago was very dead and drab.
It does look a lot better. I will say the gameplay they showed of just the one mission made me much more excited because of just the sheer number of options you had when hacking.
Right.
In Watch Dogs, you had options, but they weren't really all that great. I could really see the potential where, as he was walking around, he was just like hacking open doors and like priming lights to explode, staging stuff, like setting off at one point the little explosion in the box to draw a guard away.
Right.
There was so much more affordability in what you can do than just, if he's standing right on top of this, you can kill him.
Yeah, and I don't know, it was really quick. I don't know if you noticed this in their gameplay, but when they go to hack that car right at the beginning, it brings up a wheel, so it looks like it's not just hack the car, it's hack the car, now here's what you can do with that.
Ooh.
So it showed a little radial menu down below. It had 4, maybe it's just D-pad related, but it showed 4 options, and he hit a couple of them to make it drive and veer off like it did.
I did not see that, but that's really cool.
It was a little detail I noticed.
I just want to know, I really hope, I know it was one of the coolest game modes in the first game, but I really hope they get rid of like the invasion stuff. I did not like that at all.
It sounds like they might, especially since they have the co-op that's a little more like the invasion, where random people could be in your co-op game. They're not going to hurt you. They're not going to
That was the one thing, is it hurt you, and it was so buggy, and so many things just, it wasn't balanced.
Right.
It was never a good experience. That's honestly what made me stop playing the first Watch Dogs. I probably would have liked it if it weren't for those kind of game modes.
And another little detail that I noticed that it got me, and I don't know why. I'm a stickler for the details. The map looked reminiscent of Google Maps. So it's supposed to be your phone that's giving you a mini map.
I didn't think of that, but yeah, looking in hindsight, I think I can see what you're talking about.
That's what made it stick in my head. That's why I thought it was actually for that Eagle Flight game, is because it looked in that same art style. But yeah, it's like Google Maps. It was really cool.
But yeah, so Sony.
Yeah, on to Sony. We talked enough about Ubi.
God of War. Super stoked for that. And the fact that they've confirmed today that it is Old Man Kratos, and he did survive at the end of God of War 3. I'm very curious to see how they're going to go from that Greek mythology over to the Norse mythology, and how much, because as we saw in the demo, it's still Spartan rage.
Right. So
And
he is clearly still Spartan.
He's still Spartan. And I'm very curious, because even at the end of 3, he still had the chains around his wrists. What happened to those? Because they're now covered with regular cloth. So are they still there? Or there's so many more story questions that I need answered, and I'm very excited about this.
I will say,
it's the first official God of War sequel that we've seen since God of War 3.
Yeah.
The only, because there's never been any kind of like mini sequels. Everything else to this point has been a prequel.
What bothered me about it, and I guess this is more story question related, but it bothered me that I thought at the end of 3, the world was fucked. Like, just completely fucked. The sky had fallen. Everything was on fire. I thought it was dead.
Yeah, I mean,
I thought that's how they ended it. So what happened? Why is it so green all of a sudden?
The last thing we saw was the phoenix rise from the ground. We don't know if it was Kratos. All we know is that it was a phoenix.
But
phoenixes in Greek mythology, or as far as every other mythology, have been symbols of rebirth. So maybe it was a second wind for the entire planet.
And what, you think the rebirth of that phoenix suddenly brought back the world?
The world?
maybe
That would be such a cop-out of an excuse.
Well, I know in Greek mythology, I mean, battles between gods and the death of humanity as known by the Greeks is a thing that happened a couple times, I believe, in Greek mythology.
Something like
I
that.
could be a little wrong. I don't know my Greco-Roman lore.
But I mean, maybe that also answers
Very well.
because Kratos became this phoenix, hypothetically. He became the phoenix, restored humanity, and was stripped of his god. Stripped of his godhood, which explains why he can age now.
Maybe
I
I
don't
know that, or he just never shaved, and that gods can grow
That's true.
beards.
He's always had the goatee.
He had
Zeus,
the goatee.
Zeus has a beard.
But now he looks older. He looks dramatically older from the end because they showed a side by side. They made him look older.
Well, I wonder if he's older or if he just looks better, and so it makes it seem like maybe he's a little older looking. There's more detail to his face.
The thing that I'm more interested in is with how much they talked about the kid aspect during the stuff they showed afterwards. It really seems to be more of not necessarily a story of just like Kratos and his godhood, but more Kratos and his humanity, and kind of how does he come to terms with being a god after destroying everything, after being this quest for vengeance.
Well, and there was an interview where they said this is more of a story about his humanity, more so than his godhood. So I think we're going to see a completely different story. You notice the gore was turned way down.
Yes.
I mean, just from that gameplay demo, the initial gameplay demo, there was that troll, I think. It was a troll or an ogre.
And if this were
thing.
3,
I think they said it was a
seen
troll.
blood.
Oh, yeah.
everywhere.
I mean, it would have been like the Griffin from the E3 demo of God of War 3. Would have been gutted, everything hanging out, head chopped off, whatever brutal thing they could do. And this time, it died, but it didn't die gruesomely.
Yeah.
It just died.
Maybe they're trying to go for that Last of Us, like Joel and Ellie, but now it's Kratos and Kratos Kid.
Well, it may be giving into that theme of he's being more human, more humane in his actions.
In a way. But
I'm curious to see more.
as far as now to just kind of touch on that subject of people say that Sony won the conference. I'm going to play devil's advocate here for about 30 seconds. I completely am in thought that Microsoft won. I feel that they had the most solid conference with the most gameplay, with the most real world. This is what we have. This is what we're showing you. This is what you will get. Sony showed a lot of new titles, new stuff. They showed a lot of innovative things. Not to mention they had Kojima, which already kind of gives them that second hurrah. So playing on the Microsoft side, I agree that they won because they had the most to offer us, the most real world, tangible. The reason Sony won is because they had the most shiny, sparkle, new stuff. They had the most new reveal trailers than anybody else. But that's all they were, was just reveal trailers.
I don't even think they were reveal trailers. Aside from God of War, I'm trying to think of what they announced there that wasn't already announced.
The Kojima game.
Oh, the Kojima game.
The
Okay.
Kojima game.
Though we also knew he was making something. It wasn't like it came out of nowhere.
Yeah, the Crash Bandicoot remaster did come out of nowhere.
Right. Well, I have a theory about why people are saying Sony has won. I agree with you. I personally think Microsoft won it, not just because I have an Xbox One, but because, like you said, just how much stuff they showed. I think the reason, though, that people are saying Sony won is they're kind of getting that nostalgia card because they got God of War, which tons of people love that franchise. So they got that God of War nostalgia. It's back. Crash Bandicoot nostalgia. They're playing with that. They have The Last Guardian. They finally gave a release date for it, which people have been waiting for that for years. So they got that nostalgia card. They had Hideo Kojima. So many people are fans of his old Konami games. So I feel like people are saying that because he showed up at the Sony conference. They won because of that reason. I feel like it's just they had that nostalgia value.
They also did show off gameplay of Horizon Zero Dawn.
Which I'm not actually hearing a lot of people talk about, and it makes me sad because that is the biggest thing that I saw there that got me the most interested.
Yeah, that was definitely the coolest one.
I felt like that Sony was still very, very underwhelming.
For me, why I don't think Sony won, I agree with y'all. I think Microsoft won it more in the format of their conference. I think, Skyler, you're somewhat on point with the critics are blind right now. I don't think with nostalgia. I think with just because Sony... I just drew a blank, sorry. Because Sony just showed trailer after trailer after trailer, it was nonstop. They stopped for maybe 5 minutes to talk out of the whole conference. It was just trailer after trailer, all these new things. And there were a lot of new IPs, new games shown, but nothing was actually shown. There was just things announced, and there were cool ideas presented, but nothing was really shown. There was only a couple gameplay demos.
Right.
God
That's
of War,
about it.
Horizon Zero Dawn. I think that was about it.
Oh, Days Gone had one at the very end.
Oh,
Days
Days
Gone
Gone.
and Resident Evil 7 had that brief demo, but we don't even know if that's what Resident Evil 7 is going to be like. It could be like PT, where that's not actually how the game's going to be. It's more of a concept of what it's going to be.
Right.
so we don't know enough about that one. And then they showed a bunch of these teases for really cool games and really cool ideas, but they didn't show anything. Like with Kojima's game, everyone got super excited that Kojima was there, but what he ended up showing was nothing. He might as well have not been there.
Norman Reedus and crabs.
Norman Reedus, crabs, and a baby.
Yeah.
None of what he has a problem with being just too metaphorical in everything that he does. It makes it hard to get.
Oh, I'm sure the crabs are a symbol of the wall between us and our existential crisis and fellow man. And
he actually had a couple comments in an interview later that explained a little bit more about the trailer, but it's still very vague and cryptic. You didn't show anything. You didn't show off a game. You showed off the idea of an IP is what you showed off.
The Kojima could show off anything, and he has enough of a following. He could literally show off a stick and say, this stick is my new game, and there are people who would be just clamoring to know more about the stick.
And that's what I'm saying, is people are blinded by this, oh, Kojima's on stage. Okay, cool. Now I'm super excited. Or, oh,
Not
Crash
to say
Bandicoot
it wasn't
got
an interesting thing.
Hold on, I'm talking.
I'm sorry.
And then they say, oh, Crash Bandicoot got announced. Oh, I'm super excited. We didn't see anything of Crash Bandicoot. We saw Skylanders.
Yeah.
But they're so super excited because Crash Bandicoot. So what? If you had shown me something, okay, I'd be excited with you. I'm curious to see what Crash Bandicoot Remastered is going to be like, but you didn't show anything. You just said that it exists. It's the same hype that won them last year, critics say, with Shenmue 3.
Oh,
they're like, oh, Shenmue 3. You didn't see anything. And yet everyone was super, super excited about it. That's what Sony has going for them, is they present something, say, ooh, look at this thing that we're going to have at some point.
At
and
least
that's
they
what gets
didn't
people
announce.
excited.
At least they didn't announce a fake Kickstarter this year.
Was it fake? I thought it
No,
lasted.
they got the money for it, but then basically once they got to a certain point, they said, "Cool, thank you. We didn't need your money anyway. Sony's funding us,
Yeah,
but we'll put your money to good use."
Sony ended up funding them anyway.
It's like, what? Why'd you ask for a Kickstarter if Sony was already going to fund you?
And that's where Microsoft, I think, took it, is they didn't just show these cool ideas. The only idea they really showed was Scorpio. Everything else, like Steve was getting at, is tangible. There was something there, something gameplay, or
we got
at
a
least
release date.
big...
We got a demo. We got something.
And then they talked about it. So it wasn't just some concept and, ooh, our imagination can run wild. They showed us something, and then they talked about it for a second afterwards, so we got a concrete idea of what that's going to be.
Oh. Well, and so much of it was soon. I mean, that's the thing, is there wasn't a lot of stuff with, like Sony. Yes, Horizon Zero Dawn is this year. Yes, Last Guardian is this year. Most of the other stuff they showed didn't have release dates.
Right.
I think Crash had a quarter window.
I don't think so.
Did they give it?
I don't think they showed anything for it.
But
I remember.
Steve, you were going to say?
Yeah, I just like we skipped over the Scorpio stuff for Microsoft. Minecraft. It did get confirmed that Realms is coming to Xbox One.
Well, yeah, we knew that.
Post-conference.
Yeah, we knew that.
Well, in the
they announced it in the conference.
Did they?
They'd say it'd be coming to consoles later, at a later time.
At the same time as PC, Android, and iOS.
Oh, well, then they changed, because they said in conference.
Yeah,
that
well, no,
be...
they said it. They only said that they would be. They only gave PC, Android, and iOS in conference. They didn't include it, and they said we'll give more information about Realms at Minecon. They never specifically said that.
I will pull this up, because I remember it distinctly. They said, not post, in the conference, at the tail end of that trailer or the gameplay thing that crashed, they did say that it would be coming to consoles later in the year.
Post E3, an interview with an IGN, the people from Mojang, or however you say it, did say, Mojang, they did say that it was coming at the same time as PC, iOS, and Android. It was PC, iOS, Android, and Windows 10.
Okay. I did not see that, but I'm glad to hear it. I mean, it is a little sad. I do remember finding out that it was subscription-based, which I guess it has been that way on PC for Realm, so I shouldn't be surprised. But I kind of wish it wasn't. We'll have to wait and see how that really plays out. I don't know if that's going to hurt it on console, because when I think about it, Minecraft's biggest install base is not people who can afford to pay a monthly subscription for this, i.e. mainly kids.
Oh, and on a side note, Iron Banner starts next week.
Was that announced at E3?
No, just...
That's all they announced.
Yeah, pretty
We'll get
much.
in-
That's all they announced.
We'll get into that real quick. I want to correct you. It's not Xbox One. It's Xbox Live that's getting it.
Okay.
Because that's how they're connecting the iOS, Android, Kindle Fire, which I didn't know had Minecraft.
Yes, Kindle Fire had.
And Windows 10 are all being connected through Xbox Live.
Okay.
So that's what they meant is it would be rolling out to Xbox Live. The
that mean
friendly update would.
So does that mean we'll get it on Xbox One?
No, it's Xbox Live. That's different. It's not rolling out to the console. It's rolling out to the multiplayer service that's connecting all of the other devices.
I'm still confused.
It's not coming to Xbox One right now. It's coming later in the year.
Okay.
And this is coming from Xbox Wire, their press site.
Yeah. So.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I mean, after Sony, they're just the super hype. Nintendo, they had Pokemon, they had Zelda. That seems like it was pretty much about it.
I gotta say, Zelda was beautiful.
Oh my God, hold on really quick. I just want to say this interests me and probably Skyler, probably not you, Steve. Each version of Minecraft is going to have 1,000 gamer score to get. Each one's going to have their own separate achievement list.
But wait. We can get them in realms.
But you can get them in Realm. So you could save the world and then
Set
move
it
over to
up.
another device and just come back and get them all. Oh my God, that's like 5,000 gamer score for free. I'm an achievement
I need to
whore.
get a Kindle.
I know where a Kindle. I know someone in my family who has a Kindle.
Okay, anyways,
got Android.
Nintendo, Zelda. Zelda was holy cow beautiful.
I do have Minecraft on my iPhone, just so you know.
I've got it on
Enough
my Android.
Minecraft. I want to talk
Sorry.
Zelda, which has Minecraft elements in it now.
No.
Yeah, Zelda. I was super excited for Zelda, and I don't care one drop about Nintendo, but Zelda impressed me this year.
I gotta say, I'm a huge fan of Zelda. You guys know this. Anyone who listens probably knows I fanboy over it more than I really should. I love Zelda. It's a childhood game for me. It's the one I grew up with. Everyone has that. But this one does not look like a traditional Zelda game. It still looks amazing, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Fantastic game. There are a few things that I didn't see during their treehouse or out that make me a little worried, because there's a few things that you gotta have for it to be a Zelda game. I didn't hear any of the classic Zelda music, none of like the Hyrule Overworld theme, or even like Zelda's Lullaby. God, I cannot speak today. Which is like a classic song. I really wanted to see like a return of those because the music for Zelda is one of the biggest parts. Also, where's the companion? You always have like a fairy or like Midna, the spirit.
Well, they may not be showing that off yet.
But hopefully I want to see more on those. Also, given that it is a 3D Zelda game, there has to be some kind of musical instrument or some kind of music component that you have.
Maybe.
I think actually in replacement of the companion, they're going to be doing this new tablet.
I hope not. The companions are always like a cool part of Zelda, as annoying as they can be with like Navi. Hey,
listen. Hey, hey.
But I mean, like Midna was by far one of the best characters of Twilight Princess.
Yeah, Midna was great, but I think they're going to move because it showed this tablet would give you information on things in the world just like your companion normally would. I think that's what they're moving towards. And they did say they are pushing more towards technology versus magic in this
Well, can it
version.
at least have like an AI like Fee?
You got the old man. The old man that's totally not the king of Hyrule.
Yeah, yeah, he looks exactly like the King of
He looks
Hyrule.
exactly like him.
Or very close.
I think exact, but
But one other thing I will say with the Legend of Zelda, they did announce the amiibo stuff. I don't
yeah,
know,
you
did
talked
we-
about
did
that.
we bring that up in the main one?
Yeah, you did.
A little bit,
I forgot if we heard about it before or after.
I thought you did.
I thought I did. I don't know.
You did. You made a mention because the Toon Wolf Link will jump into the game, or the Link,
That's right.
the Wolf amiibo that you got for Twilight Princess. If you put him on the tablet, he's hypothetically going to jump in. Get a wolf companion. We don't know if it's Twilight Wolf or not, but
It is
you'll get
Twilight Wolf.
It is
Yeah.
a Twilight Wolf.
Yeah.
I know.
It's actually the Twilight Wolf, and it starts with 3 hearts.
And it has more hearts depending on how many hearts you finish the Cave of Shadows and Twilight Princess with, which now I have to go back because I played on hero mode where you can't get health back. So now I have to go through and perfect that so that I have a full health wolf.
Well, they mentioned that going back and playing the, what is it?
Cave of Shadows?
Cave of Shadows. Going back and playing that, you'd be able to power up the wolf, but they didn't say how that directly related. They didn't say that it would just have the same hearts that you ended with, or just that you could go back to it. Replaying that would power up the wolf in some way.
Maybe. I don't know.
Probably hearts, but
I usually don't care for amiibos. I love Zelda though, so that's one that gets me. But
That's a cool feature.
I want more Pokemon amiibos.
I don't want any more amiibos.
They're
These things
going
are
to do-
stupid.
They're going to do more.
They're
I
going
know,
to do
but they're
more because they're
stupid.
selling.
We actually haven't seen a new wave lately.
I think they've announced that they're doing more.
Not of a
Pretty
Super
sure.
Smash Bros. Wave. I mean, I've seen Kirby and
Well,
all these other games.
They
but
never specified when they said that they do an amiibo for every Smash character that they wanted to. They never said that they wanted to do every DLC character. Only that at least at launch characters.
But they haven't done all the characters from Smash yet.
Haven't they?
Not
Who have
even
they not done?
Not even close.
Who have they not done?
Chirp, 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 chirp.
I don't know. I don't know all.
Yeah,
the
they've done all the Smash characters.
I don't know if they've done all the. Smash
at least all the at launch Smash characters.
I don't know all the Smash characters, so I can't answer your question.
But yeah, I mean they're going to keep doing amiibos. I was actually surprised we didn't see very much about amiibos. Then again, we didn't see very much from Nintendo at all. They
No.
did announce the 3 new amiibos for Zelda, which I'm pretty sure we covered in our main
Yeah.
think we
Nintendo
did.
conference. I was kind of sad. The second day, the second Nintendo Treehouse, they didn't show anything new. What was the purpose of having a second Treehouse?
Wait, really? Did you end up getting to see it? I couldn't find it.
I was trying to find stuff because I missed the Treehouse, but I was trying to find like what new stuff they announced. I didn't see anything.
They
As
didn't
far as I
really
can tell, they just showed more Zelda.
Yeah, that's
Oh.
all. That's what Nintendo really brought this year. I don't think Nintendo really has a lot going other than NX.
Yeah, and
I mean-
they're not prepared to show it off yet.
They could also be waiting to.
I think
Tokyo
Nintendo is waiting for TGS.
So since we're talking NX and those consoles again, real quick, I saw a comment from I think it's Shuei Yohei, one of the execs from
Japanese
Sony.
name we can't pronounce.
I can normally pronounce it, I just can't remember it. But anyway, he was talking about he was surprised at the timing of the Scorpio reveal.
Mm-hmm.
He said that he was surprised that they announced it this year instead of waiting for the year that it'll come out to announce it, which sounds like is what they're planning to do for Neo, and what I imagine Nintendo's trying to do for NX is waiting till they get to the year where they can release it, announce it at some point, and then have it ready for that fall.
I guess. I mean, we already know they're working on them, so it wasn't so much an announcement than just, hey, remember this thing we're working on? Because they didn't
Scorpio?
show us anything about Scorpio. Yeah.
Well, no, we didn't know that they were making a Scorpio. It was all rumor up to that point.
Was
This
it all rumor up to
It was
that
all
point?
Yeah.
I could have
speculation.
swore that.
Nothing,
It was.
Oh, okay.
It was just a lot of rumors.
Sony
Well-
confirmed they're working on the Neo before conference.
Well, then-
Nintendo confirmed they're working on NX. Microsoft never openly said we're working on something.
Then it makes sense because all they really did is said we're working on it.
Yeah.
They didn't show us anything.
I just thought it was interesting that the Sony boss thought he was surprised by the announcement.
Really?
That they
I don't
announced
think
it this year.
anyone watching the conference was surprised.
No, because of all the rumors. But I think it's because they knew internally that they weren't going to announce now. They were going to do the full official announcement of it at a later time.
See, that hints at something that I'm really worried is going to happen with the PS4, because it happened with the PS3. At launch, PS3 was such a great console, and it was leagues better than the 360
It was just too damn expensive.
Power-wise, not actually
Well,
great console.
power-wise. But the thing was, throughout its life cycle, it didn't innovate very much. It imitated a lot. It got its own Wiimotes. After the Kinect, it got its own little PlayStation Eye camera. Like, I didn't feel like it ever really innovated and came up with interesting stuff. Like, even the party system just was non-existent. That didn't come up until PS4.
Well, they're still not innovating.
Well, but that's why it's like the PS4 came out and was much better. But now it seems to just be staying as the PS4, and the Neo, until we see more on it at least, I haven't seen any innovation in the PS4 itself. And I see, once again, the Xbox kind of making itself the better console over time. Steve, did you have something you wanted to add?
I would like to point out that the PlayStation Eye actually came before Kinect.
Did it? I thought it was announced, though, after the Kinect.
PlayStation
No.
Eye came out on PS2.
Yeah, they
Did
came
it?
out like 2004, I think.
PlayStation Eye came out
Or
first.
5.
They kind of dropped it because nobody really got into it.
Oh, I'm thinking
When
of
they
the
brought it
PS4
over to the
camera.
PS3, they brought it back over to the PS3 and kind of continued to follow it. PlayStation Move just enhanced.
No, what I'm thinking of, I actually got my stuff wrong. I was thinking of the PS4 camera that is like the Kinect sensor where it can see you.
Yeah. The
I was
PlayStation-
thinking that came on PS3, but it
That definitely imitated, but it also continued PlayStation Move support.
True, but I feel like PlayStation has been kind of behind the game on that. For instance, they didn't do PlayStation Move until the Wii was a huge success. You saw that Microsoft did the same thing with Kinect, but Kinect wasn't just a controller. They actually tried something new, and while it wasn't great, it was an attempt at innovation. And I'm worried that Sony isn't trying to innovate.
What bothers me about Sony, and this has bothered me since PS2, is they don't push very far. They may try something new, but it's some minor little thing, or it's just slightly different from what somebody else has already been doing.
Like the Move.
Yeah, like the Move is a good example of that. The PSVR is significant because it is the first major push from a console manufacturer. That's awesome.
And I'm excited
But
about
then
that.
you've also got Microsoft on the other end who's taking VR. It's like, okay, everyone's doing VR. That's really cool. Why not do AR instead? Why not have this different device that does a little bit more? And that's where I've always had a problem with Sony is they're not doing that little bit more. They're doing just enough to be at the front edge, never pushing beyond it.
They're not outside they're outside the box, but pressing very, very closely back up against it.
Right. It's the one thing that I will say, while I don't think Nintendo should be in the console market anymore, it's the one thing that I'll say that they do very well is every time Nintendo launches a console, it is innovative and completely different from the other stuff in the market.
Whether it works or not.
Right. Like the Wii was revolutionary in that it was a motion-controlled system. The Wii U, the second screen experience, now you see so many other things trying to do that, and it's kind of tapering off since the Wii U didn't do that well. But, I mean, they led the charge on that second screen gameplay.
Right.
See, I disagree with you, and you need to be a little bit more specific when you say out of the console game. They need to stay in the console stuff because they need to keep holding the market on handhelds.
Well,
Okay,
console and
I'll agree
handhelds
with
are
you on
separate
that.
markets.
I'm sorry. Well, technically, it's
They're
a
separate.
handheld console.
It's a
I
handheld.
was not
Technically,
specific.
when you say consoles, a lot of people like myself, we all assume handhelds as well because it's
I've
console.
I've never heard that comparison.
There's a group. Yeah, the vast majority when you say console, they still think handhelds are part of the consoles.
We're also part of like the in the wire gamer crowd, where to us lingo is completely different than to 90% of people.
I guess
mean,
it's true.
The vast majority of people who aren't in that 10%.
go to a gym and say health bar, see what people think.
Yeah, so it's that.
Very clever of you. I like that.
That's the same kind of theory. So when you say console, like main consoles,
What is
I don't want to see Nintendo out of the console market. I
Why?
like where that because Nintendo is more geared towards little kids.
I will
what
say
their
that it's
handhelds
a
are for. I mean,
family-friendly
that's-
system, and that has its place.
But it's a family-friendly system.
all the consoles have family-friendly alternatives.
But I like where Nintendo is at. They are more focused on
their console as a whole.
I want more.
is
If they
family-friendly.
focused more on their first-party games, on the consoles,
That's all they have right now.
and
but
that's
that's not
why
what
they're
they're
not
f-
surviving.
but they're not focusing on those anymore. They're focusing on everything else in the world.
I know. That's why I kind of agree with Skyler. Is they're not focusing on their first-party IPs. They don't have third-party. I mean, they have very few third-party IPs anymore that are putting out on their console. I think it's time that they back off and focus entirely on their on their main IPs, their first-party IPs.
They need to stay in
And
the
drop that
handhelds. The
console.
3DS is a fantastic system.
Oh, of course, they run the handheld market. That's no question.
I
And
mean,
that's why I'll give them credit for their innovation, is because the dual screen, they've innovated in the consoles. The dual screen completely outpaced the PSP and the PS Vita. There's a reason why Sony doesn't do those anymore, and Nintendo is about to put out a new version of the 3DS, supposedly.
They
It's
just
completely
released.
rumored.
They just released that new edition of it with the C stick. They're not going to do. They're not.
There's rumors about another. It's
It's rumored.
pure speculation at this point, but I don't know.
So we've gone on a long time about the console thing.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to cut most of that. I want to move on to things we didn't get to see in the conference.
A lot of Square Enix stuff.
Well, yeah, Square Enix did a lot of things. Everyone showed off a lot. I mean, we got to see Mafia 3 gameplay, which was fantastic.
Gran Turismo Sport was actually. It looks.
It doesn't look great.
It
It doesn't look great.
it looks good.
Graphically, yeah.
I would say that it's comparable to Forza 5.
Well, graphically, it looks good, but it doesn't look like a good game.
When has Gran Turismo ever been a good game?
It was the pioneer of fantastic racing sims on the console.
And then
Until
Forza was born.
Forza,
Forza 3.
It was Forza 3 was the first one that pushed ahead, and even then Gran Turismo 5 was still its direct competitor for a little bit there. Or I guess that was 4
Gran
that was
Turismo.
happening.
No, 4 was on PS2. It was Gran Turismo 5 because we had the 5 prologue, and then for so long we waited for 5, and then
No, I said 4, I meant Forza 4.
okay.
Forza 4 and Gran Turismo 5 came out roughly in the same
time.
I think within the same year. Forza 3 had come out, and because it took them so long to get Forza 5 or Gran Turismo 5, Forza was able to push ahead a little bit more than they could. But yeah, no, Gran Turismo used to be the king. It's just fallen behind.
It looks good. It looks entertaining, but racer sims can only be entertaining for so long.
Yeah.
I mean,
you can even say the same thing about Forza. It's only entertaining and fun for so long.
Well, and
I
now
like
you've
the
got
old Need
other.
for Speed games.
That's not a simulation.
Okay.
But now you've got other simulations coming out, like Project Cars and Drive
Yeah.
Club, which is less simulation, but a little bit in that range, that are starting to push Gran Turismo out.
But Squeenix.
Yeah, Squeenix had a big showing too.
I liked the Final Fantasy gameplay demo they showed outside the conference, where it was just them pushing a car for about 10 minutes while they were talking.
That was in one interview, but yeah, it was like 5 minutes of them pushing a car, and then another 5 minutes of them walking in a desert with nothing around them.
Well,
No
those,
enemies
like,
or
scorpion
anything.
things. They were fighting.
Did they fight?
Yeah, they fought these like weird scorpion things. But yeah, I just love the idea that while they're talking about the whole idea as a road trip, the gameplay on screen is them pushing a broken down car, which I'll give them credit. That is exactly what I think of when I think of group road trip.
You know what? It'd be really funny if you have to monitor your gas, and if you don't, you have to push your car back to town. That would actually be really funny.
It would be, but it looked like that was something that was staged because it ended with them at a specific car garage with a character who appears to be a important character taking a group picture and then kind of joining up with them.
Yeah, that was their new Sid.
New Sid.
Sid is it's a returning character through all the Final Fantasies because they're all supposed to be very different worlds, different timelines.
They've always
and stuff,
had every game has somebody named Sid.
Okay,
Yeah,
you can
they've always
tell. You
had
can
a
tell
Sid.
how much Final Fantasy I play.
And I don't play it much, but I know a little bit about it, and this is going to be the first Final Fantasy that I actually want to dive into.
I don't know. It looked pretty. I'm not huge into Final Fantasy. I mean, when you say Sid, I think of a sloth from the Ice Age, but.
And I do want to say, I'm really excited for it. No thanks to the gameplay that they've shown at E3 this year.
I don't think you'll like Final Fantasy.
I think I do. I like the demo a lot.
I don't think you'll like it because Final Fantasy is very grindy. Once you really get into the game, it's very grindy. That's every single Final Fantasy.
Well, that's where this is looking to be different, and they've mentioned a lot of times or in a lot of interviews. I can't talk.
I don't think any
Struggling
of us can. We've
tonight.
had so little sleep this week.
Anyway, fuck, what was I saying?
Final Fantasy.
Yeah, specifically. Oh, the grinding. So yeah, in a lot of interviews, they've been talking about how they're changing up Final Fantasy formula to bring in the newer crowds. It's going to be more like an American RPG, actually, in the ways they're describing it. So I think I'm excited, and I'm curious to see. Maybe it is more grindy, and then I'll just drop it.
That's just that's the base of every Final Fantasy is grind to get more powerful. That's it.
Yeah, I'm hoping this is different, like they're saying.
I don't know. They didn't show off anything of 7 or Kingdom Hearts 3. They made announcements that Kingdom Hearts is going to be shown off at TGS.
Yeah, that's kind of what we figured.
And I'm assuming the same thing for Final Fantasy. Their big thing though for on the Kingdom Hearts market was 2.8.
Yeah, I don't know anything about
the
this.
2.8 is the final prologue. It's Dream Drop Distance that was on the 3DS. They're moving it over to the consoles. They showed a lot of how they took that dual screen and playing with your little buddy guys, little animal friends you got going with you. They showed how they're going to be moving them from that second screen where that's where you manage everything to the actual game. They're showing off a lot of the gameplay, a lot of the stuff how the 3DS worked, how they're moving that, and how it works on the PlayStation. It looks very, very good. It looks like they did it correctly and took the time to do it right.
So they did another one of these before, right? 1.8?
They did 1.5, which was Kingdom Hearts 1, Chain of Memories, and all the cinematics from 358 over 2. 2.5, which was Kingdom Hearts 2, Birth by Sleep, and all the cinematics from Recoded, the Game Boy, the Nintendo DS Kingdom Hearts game.
Okay.
And now they're doing one more. It's the final prologue, which is Dream Drop Distance, Point 2 Birth by Sleep, which is Aqua's story, one of the characters from Birth by Sleep. It's what happens to her between Birth by Sleep and where everybody else is at the end of Dream Drop Distance.
So, but the 2.8 is supposed to be the lead into 3, right?
Yes.
Okay.
2.8 is going to fill in the gap. It's going to have Dream Drop Distance, which ends at the beginning of 3. Point 2, which actually fills in where that other character is going to come in. and then it's going to show you the story of how everything got to where it is now.
Okay.
Well, I have no clue of anything about Kingdom Hearts, but segueing off of that, Disney characters, Destiny Destiny also starts with a D. How much stuff did we like about how much we didn't get to see with Destiny?
Rise of Iron. The reason everybody got so pissed off at Deej,
Oh, that's right. He also starts with a D.
he is bound. He cannot say anything without approval from the game makers.
Of course.
So that's why they, even in their reveal trailer, they said, we will show off more this summer. We will have something at E3.
And they really didn't. He didn't say
They
a lot.
did. At the GameSpot live thing that they did last night, they showed off a little bit.
Okay, I'll trust
They
you on
showed
that
off
'cause I
a
didn't see it.
handful of weapons, and that was about it.
So there's a certain hypocrisy going on in the Destiny community that I've noticed. They are pissed at Bungie whenever they release too much information about a new expansion. They get pissed. It's like, no, what are these things that we're supposed to figure out and find out? And then when they decide not to show off as much, people get pissed that they're not seeing as much.
Well, it's the stuff
Like-
they show off.
Devil's advocate, though. This is E3.
So
You need to show something substantial. Now, granted, if they had said, okay, well, here's our expansion, we're going to release it in September. No. If you had announced it in the end of July, beginning of August, and said, hey, we're going to launch this in September. That's between August, let's say midway through July. We're releasing this in September.
yeah,
That way you give it, let's say middle of July. So you get to the middle of August, you start revealing stuff. That's when you would start revealing everything, would be about the middle of August to the end of August. That way you've got that counterbalance of, look, we just announced it. Here's all your crap. Your expansion comes out here.
but they only just announced it right before E3, the day before the first conference.
Well,
so
I know-
it wouldn't make sense that they show off too much more now.
I mean, it's like what they showed off last year with the Taken King, showing us the Dreadnought. Good thing to show. Explaining all how the story works. Not good
so
thing
much.
to show. Telling us that you're giving us this new awesome gun called the Sleeper Stimulant that's going to replace the Yalahorn. Gets us interested. Not good thing to show. That's the stuff people want
If
to
they
figure
had
out.
just said there's going to be a new weapon comparable to the Galahorn, and yet you just show it, and that's it. You show just what the weapon is, and say this is going to be comparable to Galahorn. You don't say anything else past that. That is fantastic.
Right, because they
That's
also
hype.
explain a lot of the story for Taken King. With Iron Lords, I feel like they should have just shown us a little bit of how it's going to work.
I mean, it's Destiny. It's going to be the same thing. They showed gameplay of the new relic, the big hammer or the big battle axe. They've shown that a little bit of gameplay from the new raid without spoiling anything from the raid. They've shown gameplay of the new strikes. They've shown all this stuff. They've shown the new patrol areas.
Did they?
Yeah, well, it's
Kind
Is
of,
that what they showed
sorta.
at GameSpot?
yeah, it was in the little trailers.
I didn't see the games.
They've shown
It's
trailers
been
and
mixed
stuff.
into the trailers and stuff.
Um,
They've shown all this stuff that y'all are saying they need to show without saying anything about the story, and yet people are pissed.
It's just the people want just a little bit more.
People
He
always
did-
want a little bit more.
I noticed he did Deej did an interview with Rooster Teeth today during their YouTube coverage, and he gave a little bit more there. He actually talked a little bit about the story with the Iron Lords and how the Iron Lords were originally formed to stop this disease, this technological disease that they're calling SIVA, I believe.
Yes.
And-
we already knew this.
That they basically sacrificed themselves to stop it. This is a little bit of stuff that you could have figured out from the lore. He did specifically say, though, this time that the new location is basically this kind of like mountaintop castle monastery that's the Iron Keep.
Yes, we
And
already knew this.
You specifically, by the end of the quest line, will be an Iron Lord, quote unquote.
We've already known this. That was already confirmed.
Was it?
Throughout the reveal
Do you
stream.
really want more of the story than that told?
No, that was, I think, good, but that's all he really said today.
Which
that
is
and that
exactly-
apparently there's 2 different Yalahorns now.
Yes,
Yeah,
Iron.
they've-
Yeah,
they've
there's
said
the
that
classic
before.
and then the Iron. The Iron is the pre-order boast. But as far as becoming an Iron Lord, that was already revealed in the reveal stream.
Yeah, and I think they've
Did it
said
say
enough.
become a Lord of Iron?
Yes.
I forget.
I think they've said enough about it. People just want more because they're bored and they want more.
Well, it's also,
people
this
do.
is the first big DLC since Taken King, so I think people are wanting confirmation that it's at least on that scale and not just like another House of Wolves size thing, because that I think is people's biggest concern, is that this is going to be very tiny, like the House of Wolves, when it needs to be big enough to hold us over until Destiny 2.
Well,
conceivably.
if they're willing to charge $30 for it, I
It
gotta
better be
imagine there's
big.
going to be a decent amount of content.
That's what I think scares people, though, is we don't have any confirmation yet that it's a decent amount of content.
We're getting more information this summer, though, so it's just...
I'm so confused because they've said all this stuff. I mean, they said that there's going to be a bunch of new strikes and that there's going to be...
No, they said there
new
would be a
raid
new strike, and they're bringing back old strikes.
Oh, okay.
Think Dark Below. Would you say Dark Below was a good-sized expansion?
It had some decent size... But see, Dark Below had a new raid.
And it was
It had
only
a new
$20.
raid. Dark Below has everything they've said that they're bringing in Rise of Iron. Dark Below is not worth $30. If they give me something the size of Dark Below, they have failed to give me
Dark
what
Below
they
didn't
should.
give you a new area.
Okay.
You got to remember, they're giving you a brand new drop zone on Earth. That means they're completely giving us... So when you select Earth, there's going to be 2 points on Earth now, not just one. We're getting a whole new thing. So that's a whole lot more than Dark Below already.
True. Okay, I'll give you that. I'm excited for it. I want to see more of it. I believe that the big concern, though, that most people have is that it is not going to be as big as it needs to,
So you know what's actually very much like Destiny?
but isn't completely at all.
Mafia 3 is a shooter, at least. So they showed off a bunch of gameplay for Mafia 3. This, for me, was a big one. I mentioned it in our pre-E3 podcast, but I'm really excited for Mafia 3. Mafia 2 is one of my favorite games from 360, PS3 era. And seeing this new Mafia 3 is really cool. So it's set in New Bordeaux, which is their New Orleans knockoff, but it's during the mid to late 60s in America, which, if you know anything about American history, is a very turbulent time, especially for Black Americans and really any minority races.
It was a turbulent time for everyone. I mean, you had, I believe, the Vietnam War.
Vietnam was going on during the 60s.
And so you had all the riots because of that, all the different protests. Though if this is New Orleans, I don't know if that was as big on that stage.
Well,
It
it
came
is. It was big everywhere.
in the South?
Well, I didn't know if like the anti-war activists were as big in New Orleans.
Oh, God,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's a lot of trouble in America at this point, and you play a Black American who's trying to start his own mob group in New Orleans, essentially. And he's doing this by taking out the current mob leaders and hiring his new
Underbosses, I think they were
it's
called?
underbosses, yeah.
I saw a little bit on it, not as much as you probably have. I will say, I did like how the new system for how you attack other people is all of their values have a dollar amount assigned to it.
Yeah.
So as you destroy their infrastructure, you're like ticking away at other mobs' economy.
I think that's really cool. You're actually causing damage to their infrastructure, and that's what's making them weak. I guess it's really just an explanation for it. Go do these missions, but I think it's a really cool way of doing it.
It's the best explanation I've seen given for any. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of any that is given such a easily understandable and in-game lore-friendly explanation for the stuff you're doing.
yeah. So you can see the progress towards taking him down. Not instead of just, oh, I've got 3 missions left. I got $25,000. I still need to break down of his infrastructure. That's cool. I like that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a lot of details. I guess it's kind of hard to go into because y'all aren't so familiar with the Mafia scene, but
Well,
with the Mafia
I know
games, I mean.
one thing I'm going to be interested in, and this is pseudo-political, but obviously that was a very charged time for people who were black because the 60s were not kind to.
60s were
It was
the
a
start
terrible
of the,
time.
60s were the start of the Civil Rights Act.
Right, and it was not a good time. I mean, no, regardless of what you feel politically, that was a bad time and a lot of bad things happened.
Right.
We have a lot of racial tension now. I really want to see how that's going to blow over with Mafia 3 having a very racially charged story
Well, they did
in a modern world.
I couldn't really see much of it in the gameplay demo, but they have said that they're not holding punches. This is especially like
That was some of the stuff I saw, that cops would be more apt to go after you. So that was something I believe they actually said, is that depending on the neighborhood you were in, if you were in a white neighborhood, cops would automatically suspect you.
Yeah, they have an area called Frisco, I think Frisco Heights or something. But yeah, it's essentially a bunch of mansions, and if you're seen there, you're going to be on high alert. You know, the cops are going to be after you. I think that's really interesting though. We see very few. We mentioned this before, but we see very few games that tackle this time period, are bold enough to tackle this time period and keep it accurate to the period.
We see very few games that address race at all.
And it's not, and it goes beyond just general race. It's so you were part of a black gang in New Bordeaux that got wiped out by the Italian mafia.
Okay.
So you've got that level of hatred as well. I mean, you got the black mafia versus the Italian mafia in the middle of New Bordeaux claiming territory. I mean, it's so cool. It's fascinating to me. But we'll get off of it because I know I'm the only one super excited for it.
A little piqued interest.
So any other games you guys want to cover?
Steve, did you have any?
I don't know. What were you gonna say?
I know it was very small footnote. We got to see a little bit more of ukulele, and I used to play Banjo-Kazooie. Well, I still do. I love that game, but I was just happy to get to see it. It looks very much like the old ones. I'm so happy that with Kickstarter, these companies or these groups of people who otherwise wouldn't get to continue these games that we all love because their company downsized or laid them off can go and seek these other avenues to create these great things. Like We Happy Few is another great example where Irrational completely shut down that whole department. So most of that department just went and said, well, cool, we're going to go make another game exactly like we did, except the fans are going to pay for it.
Yeah. It's a good time to be a gamer.
It is. It's a very good time to be a gamer. I mean, I guess... Oh, you had one?
They did announce the release date for the Skyrim Definitive Edition. October
28th, I think.
28th is what I said.
Something like that.
I
right
put
around
it in
that
our
time.
group text a
Yeah.
little bit ago, but yeah.
Cool.
October 28th. October seems like it's the month this year.
Yeah, October. Well, it's always been October, November, but it does seem more jam-packed than usual.
Because PSVR is in October, Skyrim is in October, Call of Duty is
November.
It's November?
It's always
Yeah,
November.
it's always November.
Battlefield 1,
Battlefield 1's October. Titanfall 2 is October.
Gears 4 is October.
Gears 4.
They're actually, which is odd for Gears. They're holding it back until October. Gears is normally our September launch.
Yeah, I guess
Gears
it's
2
true.
was, Gears 3 was, Judgment was. The anniversary was last September. So Gears is normally, I don't know why they're holding it off until October, but
I don't know, but man, this is a jam-packed.
October's going to be
Holiday.
rough.
You know what? I just realized something speaking about release dates. So Skyrim comes out on October 28th, but Bethesda has another game coming out on November 11th. Which game was that?
November 11th was.
Dishonored? Quake?
Was that No, that was Dishonored.
Yeah,
Dishonored
it had
comes
to
out
have
on
been
November
Dishonored.
11th. But Skyrim came out on November 11th, 2011. Why didn't they put the remake out on November 11th? That would have been awesome.
That would have been funny. I don't know. It is weird that they didn't do that.
Because, I mean, that was like, I remember the whole, like, reveal in the original Skyrim trailers, like, it shows Skyrim, and then it all turns into the ones.
Right.
That would have been so funny if they just did that, except the one turns into a 1 and then, like, a 6 really fast.
Spins around.
But
I don't know. But yeah, so, I mean, it's going to be a very jam-packed year between now and then.
Oh.
Here, all right, just as a future prediction thing, I kind of want to throw this out there. Game of the year.
Oh.
Just
well, out of Game of
speculation.
E3.
No, I want Game of the Year out of what we've seen and what we've already had between January, because everything from January until now still counts.
Are you saying that, like, our overall Game of the
What
Year
do
for
we
2016?
think between what's out now and what is coming out? Game of the Year.
That's a tough one for sure.
I think we should go over that as it gets closer to the end of the year once we've had a chance to play.
Well,
them.
we'll get a final thing, but
I'm just
prediction wise,
I'm kind of curious. What do you think could win out of what we've seen at E3 and what's already been out now? What do you think could win Game of the Year?
I think Dishonored 2 would be contender for sure.
I'll nominate Dishonored 2.
I would say it's going to be. There's a couple that it's going to be between. It's going to be between Dishonored, Titanfall, Watch Dogs, and Dead Rising 4.
Do you think Dead Rising 4 is going for Game of the Year, though?
Over Call of Duty and Battlefield? I don't think so.
Well, Call of Duty and Battlefield haven't won Game of the Year in a while.
I would not throw them into that list. The reason I said Dead Rising 4 is because with what they've shown, this could be Dead Rising 3 could have done it, but they didn't, so they probably won't. But we don't know. That's why I said I'd rather do it closer to the end of the year, because as with everything I've seen for Dead Rising right now, that could be the Dead Rising game that breaks out of that cult classic genre. Because what they've shown so far looks like something that I think almost anyone would like to play.
Well, I think it would have the same success as you would see from something like Saints Row.
Yeah, and Saints Row was up for contender for Game of the Year.
No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
Wasn't
it?
No.
I don't think it won, but I thought it was up for as a contender.
Nope.
No, not for Game of the Year. It had gone up for like action adventure game or something, but
Action
it
game
didn't
of
win.
the year or something.
It never ended up winning anything.
And then last but not least, because it's the beast that can't be stopped, Skyrim's going to win it again.
No, Skyrim's not going to win it.
It's a redo that redos don't win.
But
I'm
a redo with
I'm
mods.
curious, but Titanfall,
I don't
Dishonored.
think Titanfall will be. I think it'll be up for best shooter, but not for game of the year.
Dishonored
Maybe.
will be up for game of the year.
I think that'll definitely be
You
up
think
for
it'll
game
come
of the
down
year.
to Dishonored and Watch Dogs?
I don't. Watch Dogs is such an unknown quantity at this point. I'm super excited for it, but I don't know if it's actually going to end up being a good game.
I mean, what else has also come out this year?
Well, what would you say was the game of E3? That's
me-
one I'm more curious about.
Ooh, yeah. For me, game of E3 would probably be Watch Dogs 2. That's the one I'm coming out of this most excited for.
I would actually say game of E3 was The Legend of Zelda, not because I'm a fanboy, but because of how much stuff it showed for not having shown anything else,
It's because you're a fanboy.
and how much it's revolutionized the franchise.
No, I think it was fantastic showing. I'm just still not yet excited enough to even go out and get a Wii U for it. Or
Okay.
start saving up for an NX for it. I'm not quite there yet, but it's got me close.
I was going to say, just because the fact that with everything I've seen, people who don't care about Nintendo are gushing over the new Legend of Zelda game, just how it looks and the gameplay that it shows. So that's one of the reasons why I said that. But
Yeah. Steve, what do you think?
For me, it's a toss-up. Halo Wars 2, Titanfall 2.
Really?
Yes. Halo Wars 2, I played a little bit of the beta. I've actually played some more of it when you guys left. I think I was up till like 3 o'clock last night playing the beta.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get into it, the mechanics of the game are very, very different and refreshing compared to the first one. I can see them really, really taking this game and using it to leap the RTS on consoles up off of it.
Okay.
Titanfall 2, they took what they learned from the first one, and they have fixed everything that we've wanted and added what we've wanted and took what they did right with that one and are continuing to put it over. So they've learned what they did and they fixed it.
You're excited for that?
And I'm excited for that. That needs to be rewarded. It's not every day that that happens.
Well, actually it is. I mean, most sequels, they do exactly that.
False. Fable.
I mean, look at, well, Fable.
Fable.
Peter Molyneux stuck up so far up his own ass, he can't see the light of day.
there is a lot of sequels. To say that most do it, most of the ones we played do it because they do it well.
From Gears 1 to Gears 2, yes. From Gears 2 to Gears 3, no.
Well, the only thing you don't like about Gears 3 is the story. I
No,
mean,
the
let's-
mechanics were a lot. I hated the mechanics.
They're
They
the
changed.
same.
No, they changed it. It
We'll
is
get into this
different.
after the podcast.
Yeah.
But like Watch Dogs 2 is a perfect example. They've taken what they've. That's why I'm so excited
Another
for
one
Watch
for
Dogs
what? Yeah,
2.
but see, they took what they learned from the first one, took all the good parts that everybody loved and kept them going, and then changed the parts that people didn't like.
Well, real quick, I think we kind of cut you off. You never got a chance to explain Watch Dogs 2. You just started to, but
What?
like why you think Watch Dogs 2 is game of the year?
Oh, is that what I said was Game of the Year?
Yeah.
No, Game of
Game
E3.
of E3, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
I think it's just because it's the one I'm most excited for. It's not necessarily the best game that was shown. I think Dishonored 2 is probably the best game shown this year. But I'm most excited for Watch Dogs 2. I was one of the few fans of Watch Dogs 1. I actually really enjoyed the game. It had its problems, of course, but I'm a fan of Mirror's Edge. I know how to look past problems. And I was really excited to hear that they were going to be doing a sequel. I think the core mechanics behind it, the hacking and being able to control your environment in unique ways, really gets to me. I think that is fascinating and leads to some interesting moments. And to see that expanded just gets me all giggly. I get all giggly and wiggly for it. And real quick, actually, speaking of Game of E3, I can't believe we skipped over it. They showed off.
Star Wars.
No, fuck Star Wars. Just Deus Ex. They showed off a lot of Deus Ex
They
gameplay.
did show off a lot of Deus Ex. Squeenix
Did they?
did.
I
Yes.
never saw it.
I know we're about to wrap up, so I'm just gonna briefly say I'm super excited for that. I think that's one that's gonna be up for Game of the Year at the
Conceivably.
end of this year. It looks fantastic, both graphically and in its gameplay. Just I cannot wait. With Human Revolution being one of my favorite games of all time, and yes, not the original, actually, Human Revolution. I'm super excited for Mankind Divided, and Deus Ex Go actually looks pretty fun. As a fan of Hitman Go,
Yeah.
it's pretty fun. Squeenix, you're doing it right.
Yeah, they are.
All right, so that's been E3 2016. It's been
One hell of a week.
Yeah,
been a
we're
lot.
we're all ready to go get some sleep.
Yeah.
Who am I kidding? We're not going to go to sleep. Hey, Steve, you want to play? Can we play on the same team? Can we queue up for Halo Wars 2 and play together?
No.
No, I can't play with you.
I don't know.
Well, if I can't play with you, I'll play against you. But yeah,
Yeah, we've rambled on a lot in this episode.
it was a good E3. There was so much good stuff.
There was so much, and I feel like we could keep talking about all the stuff.
Oh, absolutely. There's still more to say, and more we will say in the following months for sure. Some more
Once we
things
finally
get
start
shown.
playing them.
Yeah, once we get our hands onto some stuff and a little bit more information.
Yeah.
So there we go. Thank you all so much if you've managed to stick around. We appreciate it. And of course, let us know what you thought of E3 this year down below. We'd love to hear from you, and we'll talk a little bit more about that maybe in the next episode.
Yeah,
And-
what was your game of E3 or your predictions for game of the year?
Yeah.
And I kind of want to just throw this out there. If anybody has any ideas for what they want us to talk about, why not?
Yeah, we'll take suggestions. We are going to be moving the podcast, although we haven't really had much of a schedule thus far. We are going to be doing this podcast bi-weekly is our new plan.
Is it second and fourth weeks is when we'll be putting them out of the month?
Not specifically, no. It'll just be every 2 weeks. Or every other week we'll have a podcast out.
Okay.
So it's going to be every other week. At least for now. We'll see. Maybe we'll do more or less. I don't know.
Yeah, just working things out to get a better schedule in place, make sure we can improve the quality. We're always wanting to give a better podcast.
Yeah. All right. Final words? Anyone want to plug something? I'm looking at you, Steve.
My phone is about to die. Can I plug that in?
Here, bend over. And
You've
I'll
been
plug-
waiting so long to say that.
bend over before me, and I'll plug something for you.
No. Oh, God, no.
Thanks for watching, guys.